April 1945, Bergen-Belsen Region, Germany. The war was almost over, but something terrible was about to happen. Deep inside Nazi Germany, Canadian soldiers discovered a secret that made their blood run cold. The Nazis had given new orders. These orders had a code name, Operation Endsieg. It meant one final victory for Hitler, even as his armies crumbled around him. The orders were simple and evil. Every concentration camp prisoner had to die before Allied soldiers could free them. The SS commanders had 48 hours. Not one witness could survive to tell the world what happened in these camps. Hitler himself had screamed the command, "Not one witness shall survive to testify." In 3 connected camps near Bergen-Belsen, 45,000 Jewish prisoners waited behind barbed wire. They had no idea that in just 2 nights, Nazi soldiers planned to murder every single one of them. The prisoners were already starving. Their bodies were thin like skeletons. Many could barely stand. Now they faced bullets and gas chambers in a final massacre. The British Army was close. So was the American Army. But close was not close enough. Canadian intelligence officers sat in a cold tent reading the captured Nazi orders by lamplight. Their hands shook as they realized what the papers meant. 45,000 people. 2 days. The math was impossible. General Montgomery from Britain looked at the maps. His officers stood around the table, their faces grim. "We need a full assault," one colonel said. "Artillery bombardment first, then infantry, then we clear the camps building by building." Montgomery nodded slowly. He did the calculations in his head. 72 hours minimum, more likely 4 or 5 days of fighting. The camps would be empty graves by then. An American general visiting the headquarters shook his head. "We cannot pull troops from the main offensive," he said firmly. "The camps will be liberated when we reach them through our normal advance. That is how war works. We push forward. We take ground. We free whoever is still alive when we get there." His voice was cold, like he was talking about capturing a bridge instead of saving lives. But one man in that tent could not accept this answer. Lieutenant Colonel David Margolis stood in the back corner. He was 34 years old from Montreal, Canada. He had a thin face and tired eyes. He was not a hero from the movies. He had never led a charge or won a medal for bravery. David Margolis was a logistics officer. He moved supplies. He organized trucks and trains and warehouses. Other officers barely noticed him at these meetings. Combat generals did not respect men who counted boxes and planned delivery routes. But Margolis had something the generals did not have. He had lost everyone. His entire extended family in Poland was gone. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, all murdered. The letters from home had stopped coming in 1942. He knew what that silence meant. So when the general said 4 or 5 days, Margolis heard 45,000 death sentences. While they looked at maps and discussed strategy, he looked at the numbers differently. He saw truck capacity, travel time, distance, windows of opportunity. "It is strategically impossible," a British general announced, closing the folder of intelligence reports. "We cannot divert resources for a rescue mission. We must maintain our primary objective, destroying what remains of the German army." Other officers murmured agreement. This was how military minds worked. You had objectives. You had resources. You calculated costs. Sometimes people died while you calculated. The tent flap opened, and another officer entered with more bad news. Radio intercepts confirmed that SS units were already preparing for the executions. They were digging mass graves. They were testing the crematorium furnaces to make sure they still worked. Time was disappearing like sand through fingers. Margolis cleared his throat. The sound was quiet, but somehow every officer in the tent turned to look at him. "Permission to speak, sir?" he asked Montgomery. The general looked surprised that the logistics officer was still there. He waved his hand. "Make it quick, Colonel." "The conventional assault will not work," Margolis said. His voice was steady, but his heart pounded. By the time our artillery finishes bombardment, by the time infantry secures the perimeter, by the time we clear 3 camps of enemy soldiers, everyone inside will be dead. The SS will execute them the moment they hear our guns." "We are aware of the timeline problems, Colonel," Montgomery said with irritation. "But we cannot change the laws of physics or military science. An assault requires time and force." "Then we do not assault them," Margolis said. The tent went silent. Officers stared at him like he had lost his mind. "We do not need to fight our way in," he continued, his words coming faster now. "We need to make them think we already have." An American officer laughed. "Make them think? This is war, Colonel, not a stage play." British captain shook his head in disbelief. "The Germans are not going to just abandon 3 camps because we asked them nicely." But Margolis was not laughing. His mind was already working through the plan that would save 45,000 lives or end his military career in disgrace. He thought about loudspeakers. He thought about trucks. He thought about fear and darkness and the space between what people see and what they believe. "Fear is a weapon too," Margolis said quietly. "And sometimes the best way to win a battle is to never let your enemy realize there was not a battle at all." Montgomery studied the Canadian officer's face. He saw something there. Desperation, maybe, or certainty, or the look of a man who would not accept that mass murder was just another casualty of war. "You have 48 hours to present a detailed plan," Montgomery said finally. "And God help you, Colonel, if you are wasting our time." Margolis saluted and left the tent. Outside, the German night was cold and dark. Somewhere 14 kilometers away, 45,000 people waited to die. But David Margolis had just been given permission to try the impossible. He did not need to be the strongest. He just needed to be smarter than evil. And he had exactly 2 days to prove it. David Margolis worked through the night in a supply warehouse that smelled of diesel fuel and canvas. He spread maps across a wooden table lit by a single hanging bulb. His fingers traced roads between the camps and Allied lines. 14.7 kilometers. Not far, but far enough to be deadly if anything went wrong. He started making lists, not with fancy military strategy, but with simple math that a warehouse manager would understand. How many people can fit in one truck? 30 if they squeeze together. How many trucks do they need? He divided 45,000 by 30. The number made his stomach hurt. 1,500 trucks. Impossible. The entire Canadian Supply Corps did not have 1,500 trucks to spare. But what if each truck made multiple trips? The road was clear. The distance was short. A truck could drive to the camps, load prisoners, drive back to Allied lines, and return for more. How many trips could one truck make in 5 hours? He calculated speed and loading time. Each truck could make at least 2 full trips, maybe 3 if the drivers pushed hard. So, he needed fewer trucks, much fewer. Margolis wrote down the final number. 168 trucks. Still a huge number, but possible. Maybe. He moved to the next problem. How do you make Nazi soldiers abandon their post without firing a single shot? The answer came from an unlikely place. Margolis remembered a story his uncle told him before the war. During World War I, British soldiers had used fake tanks made of wood and canvas to fool German scouts. The enemy wasted artillery shells shooting at painted boards. Deception was cheaper than bullets. What if they could make the Nazis believe a massive attack was happening when no attack existed at all? Margolis thought about sound. Artillery made a deep, booming noise that shook your chest. Tank treads made a grinding metallic screech. Soldiers shouting in different languages meant multiple armies converging together. What if you could record those sounds and play them back through loudspeakers? He found 12 loudspeaker units sitting unused in a communications depot. They were meant for broadcasting orders to troops during battle. But Margolis had a different idea. He scred recording equipment from a signals unit. He asked tank crews to drive past microphones so he could capture the sound of their engines. He recorded artillery practice, the boom and whistle of shells. He even recorded soldiers yelling commands in German, Russian,